I know someone who is being abused. What should I do? Over time, we've learned the best ways to help someone, be it a friend, family member, coworker, neighbor, anyone who is being abused. The responses victims say are most helpful may not necessarily align with your initial instinct. That's why we've prepared this video, to provide you insights from experts and survivors on the most effective ways to lend a hand. Let's first start by identifying abuse. There may be visible signs like scratches, bruises, or worse. Or there may be no marks at all, but you notice controlling behavior, a pattern of verbal criticism, guilt trips, name-calling, threats, sarcasm, interrogation, jealousy, harming kids or pets, forbidding their partner to work, or controlling finances. Or you notice someone being increasingly isolated. Abuse takes many forms: physical, emotional, sexual, economic, and spiritual. It also tends to intensify over time and, despite apologies, often escalates into abuse that can become increasingly violent. To consider if what you're seeing is abuse, we've prepared a video, What is Domestic Violence? It details the telltale signs and is worth watching. It may be that you've seen the confession coming for a while, or it could catch you completely off guard. A survivor might drop it casually into a conversation about their weekend or disclose it over a cup of coffee. In some cases, there may not even be a confession, but you suspect abuse is occurring. You've witnessed the signs or observed the fear in the other person's eyes. When people discover someone is being abused, for many the gut reaction is to tell them in no uncertain terms to get out or leave. But as odd as it may sound, that's not always the most helpful thing for a victim to hear. It's important to consider the countless reasons why leaving immediately seems impossible or impractical to a victim. For instance, their abuser may be threatening to harm or kill them, their children, pets, or other family members if they attempt to leave. A survivor may not have another place to live, no transportation or money to go anywhere else, or may still believe the abuser can change. There might be pressure from family to stay and work it out, or they may be fearful of losing custody of their kids. They may feel shame or embarrassment, or be unaware of their options. For a complete list of issues, search Barriers to Leaving on our site. Bottom line, know and accept that only a survivor knows when the safest time is for them to leave. The decision to leave needs to be a choice they make on their own. So what should you say when someone tells you they're being abused? I hear you. I believe you. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. I'm scared for you. I really want you to be in a safe relationship. I'm here for you. These are really good places to begin. Most of all, the best thing you can do is just listen. You don't need to fix their problem, you just need to hear and believe them. To reinforce the point, when we surveyed survivors and asked what someone did for them that they found most helpful, the number one answer was listen and support me unconditionally. You also don't need to have all the answers. Often the best thing you can do is refer the survivor to a person who is specially trained to help them. Ask your friend, have you spoken to a domestic violence advocate? If not, can I help you find one? To do so, from a safe device that the abuser cannot search or track, visit domesticshelters.org and click Find Help. Enter your zip code, press Return, and nearby shelters and hotlines will appear. Most are available for calls 24/7. There's also the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233, which also offers online chat via thehotline.org. No commitment is needed to make a call, and calls can be made anonymously and repeatedly as a victim works through the process, has more questions, or wants additional advice. Hotline advocates are simply available to listen and talk. Remind your friend to call a hotline from a safe phone, maybe a public phone, your phone, or a work phone, and to call at a time when they are certain the abuser will not be around. Ask your friend if they would like you to be there with them when they make the call. It's entirely possible your friend or loved one could confide in you about abuse, only to retract that confession soon after and say that they were wrong, they're not being abused. Or the person you know is in danger could brush off your concerns when you confront them, adamant that they're just fine. The survivor might use statements like, "It's not that bad. He's getting help. He's never actually hit me. It only happens when he's drinking. He grew up with abuse. It's not his fault." Minimizing trauma is a very normal coping response. It can help make things seem not as bad as they are. Survivors might minimize or deny abuse for other reasons. Deep down, they may believe their abuser loves them. They want to believe there is hope. The survivor believes this is all they deserve, or the survivor is scared. The abuser might be threatening her or her children with harm if she tells anyone about the abuse. or the survivor isn't ready to face the prospect of leaving their abuser, or they don't feel like they have any other options in life but to stay with their abuser, so they try to convince themselves that what's happening isn't so bad. The abuser might also try to convince them that the abuse isn't happening, or isn't nearly as severe as it actually is, a tactic known as gaslighting. So, let's talk about what you can do if the person you're trying to help is minimizing or denying the abuse. The first idea is to be patient. Helping someone get out of a relationship with an abusive partner is often not a quick process. It can take months, even years. Another technique is to educate. Reinforce that abusive behavior isn't part of a normal relationship. Help them identify the signs of abuse. Suggest reading books, many of which can be found under the Resources tab on domesticshelters.org. Under that same tab, you'll find danger assessments that can help a person understand and realize the danger they are in. You can reassure. Let the survivor know that they did not cause the abuse, it is not their fault, and they never deserve it. Abuse is a choice made by the abuser. It is not the result of chemical dependency, prior exposure to abuse, or anything the survivor has ever done. Finally, you can remind the person that they are not alone. It may be helpful to share some statistics. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. There are some 3,000 domestic violence shelters and organizations across the U.S. and Canada that help survivors every day. If you believe your friend or family member is in danger and they won't listen to your pleas to leave, you may think calling the police will help. While your heart's in the right place, there are some things to consider first. If you're aware that a violent event is currently happening, such as the abuser has a weapon and is threatening your friend or family member, you should ask if they have or can call the police. If not, offer to do it for them. But if you only suspect abuse, haven't witnessed it for yourself, or it isn't happening at that moment, unfortunately, it is not likely to get a police response. And this could enrage the abuser and further endanger or alienate the person being abused. As a support person, you may also call a domestic violence hotline to speak to an advocate about your concerns. An advocate is trained to know how to support you and can help you develop effective strategies to assist family, friends, or coworkers. There's a decent chance at some point you'll feel like you've tried and tried, all to no avail. This can be frustrating, but whatever you do, don't give up. We have some ideas for you. As mentioned earlier, it can take time for someone to leave an abusive partner. In fact, we asked nearly 1,000 survivors, and here's what they said. On average, they attempted to leave 6 times before separating for good. Only 10% of people attempted to leave and successfully did on their first attempt. The most common response was the 28% who said it took 4 to 6 times to finally leave their abuser. Keep talking. As difficult as it may be to stand idly by while someone you care about is being abused, it has to be the victim's decision when and if to leave an abusive partner. Only the victim knows, taking into account all the circumstances, when it is the right time to do so. Still, you can continue encouraging the survivor to leave. Keeping the lines of communication open will be the best thing you can do because chances are the abuser is trying to isolate with greater and greater intensity over time the victim from family and friends. Avoid shame, guilt, or blame. It should go without saying, but avoid phrases like, you just need to leave. If you wanted to leave badly enough, you would find a way, or you just keep repeating yourself, why do you keep letting this happen? Remember the 50 barriers to leaving that we discussed earlier. Don't give up. Your friend may leave the abuser only to return again. You may not understand why, but this is common. Just as the previous chart showed, don't give up hope. Your friend needs someone like you in their corner. Encourage them to talk to someone. Be it an advocate, a support group, a lawyer, the police, another survivor. Talking to someone else who can relate will help a survivor to not feel isolated and alone. Finally, before you do anything, you might want to spend some time learning more about domestic violence. Chances are the more you know, the more helpful you can be. Visit domesticshelters.org, and under the Common Questions tab, you'll find a series of toolkits, including one titled, I Know Someone Who is Being Abused, What Should I Do? This toolkit will help you easily find numerous resources on the website that address this very question in greater detail than time allows in this video. Oh, and by the way, as you explore domestic violence further, you'll likely hear the term survivor used in place of what others might refer to as a victim. Survivor is an empowering term domestic violence advocates, people currently experiencing abuse, and people who have successfully moved on from an abuser like to use because of what it implies. Good luck taking the next step, and on behalf of your friend and all survivors, Thank you for taking an interest and being willing to help.